Nukedzo, Wagwan, Nukedzo. Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Christophe St. John coming live to you back from Jamaica, here in Canada, chilling, bringing you an update from the Pan-African Sustainability Movement from the UNIA, or Universal Negro Improvement Association. Now, before I get going, I'll play a song by Stonebwoy. It's an Afro dancehall original inspired by African and dancehall origins. And it's called Nukedzo, or What's Up, also known as Wagwan in Jamaica. Check out this Afro dancehall original. While I finish my coconut water. Oh, here we go. Let's get that reconnected. And let's start this one again. There we go. Show them down to the give it to them, make us so them do. We don't see no hater. Same after they do them the faker. If it is in the baby, God is the bless me, yeah, but I pray to the maker. Yeah, say I be your neighbor. Where the pull Bentley Bentayga. Imagine that see me and them be for the heart because you don't know what you make. My body tell me Nukedzo. 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 When they go up me there, what's up? Keep up play me there, drop down. When they go up me there, what's up? Keep up play me there, drop down. I walk one, Africans all original, one God, continually burning. John down, and those all days we never lose God. We go hard, SRNE, and so God connect. My body tell me Nukedzo. 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 Hello, oh Jamilo, Wangadi Eshenolo. Hello, oh Jamilo, Wangadi. Alright, I believe I can fly. In your yake, man, you're my fleeky, man, you're my reaching, man, you're my screeching. Me to say go ta, me was treaty. Me just be the other way the pre. Kwasi the pre. Me be chebe, shebe the deep. Me a kota go Miami, me chitire. Oh yeah, dances, but I don't know. Oh yeah, dances. If I work hard, pray hard, play hard, hustle until the graveyard. My body tell me Nukedzo. 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 When they go up me there, what's up? Keep up play me there, drop down. When they go up me there, what's up? No problem. Keep up play me there, drop down. Never go on the shoes on my timeline. Global worldwide, do the shoes from me, wanna give me 5 1. I'll be broken and hungry. If not for God, I'll be struggling for breakfast. If not for God, I'll be struggling for lunchtime. If not for God, I'll be struggling for dinner. If not for God, I'll be way more of a sinner. If not for God, we don't wake up in the morning on the evening. Slow breathing, funky body's feeling. Where's me, I'm feeling right now, moving crazy. I just look up at the ceiling. We just tryna get a cash money. Why you put my brothers in God every day? In this life I've been counting, both love and it ain't stopping me. I just gotta keep it moving. Up in the night, moving. See the cash money, use it, and keep it moving. I just gotta keep it moving. Up in the night, moving. See the cash money, use it, and keep it moving. My body tell me Nukedzo. Okay, so that one was a Stone Boy original, yo. New kids, though. Wagwan, wagwan, wagwan. For those of you who celebrate, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to y'all. Happy Kwanzaa. Belated Happy Hanukkah. And Happy Ethiopian Christmas. I know they have their own language and calendar, the Eastern calendar they use in Ethiopia. So they're steps ahead. But we're catching up, guys. We're catching up. Don't worry. Now, this is very crucial. If you want to take notes, take notes. But we also have a free copy of our checklist available at our website. So I'll be listing that off to you later on in the video. Now, amid a teetering economy, we are being forced to either evolve financially and economically or fall behind. Now, the government has proven its inability to sufficiently provide for its citizens. And now self-sufficiency is the difference between the success and failure of a nation. The current Agenda 2030 is built around a crude oil-controlled infrastructure. We are now at a place and time in which the government cares more for crude oil than it does the well-being of its own citizens. Crude oil is more valued to the government than the very food that you and I consume to survive. Now, if this fact does not raise some instant red flags, then you are not politically and economically educated on the topic that can make or break this very nation and this world. Now, since the government's two main priorities are crude oil and nuclear weapons, we here at the Universal Negro Improvement Association have launched the Pan-African Sustainability Movement. Now, the movement includes our crucial checklist, which I'll be going over briefly today, as well as future plans to partner with Dr. Umar Johnson and the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy, as well as Team Pan-African. Now, having access to a garden plot with your own fruit forest and vegetable garden is a vital investment for every family for 2023 moving forward. The power to grow food from seed to table is a vital skill that all Pan-African men and families need to invest in learning. Not only does it give you a boosted health factor, but it also allows for minimal spending on food and water for the year, cutting back on your expenses and saving you a drastic amount of money that can be used to expand your wealth. Now, Dr. Umar Johnson, in his vision objective, has also mentioned that the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy will have a section for agricultural science for its students. Now, this is crucial, paired with the majority fresh vegan diet principles. Now, this is the transition we as a culture need in order to start healing and strengthening ourselves both physically and mentally. A major goal in the Pan-African Sustainability Movement is to have families make all the possible investments needed to be as self-sufficient from the government as possible. This itself could be the factor that determines the future of our race as we know it, especially with the looming economic uncertainty. Now, whether you live in a tiny studio apartment in the middle of a huge urban area, or you have acres on acres and don't know what to do with it all, you can become more self-sufficient. There is no reason to bow down to Uncle Sam and say, okay, and give in and buy everything. It's not necessary to buy into the consumerism that has been rampant all over this country and all over this world. You can do something to work towards your goal of self-sufficiency and homesteading right now. It will not only reduce the cost of living, but it will optimize your health and well-being throughout sustainable living and give you a peace of mind and well-being emotionally as well, because something about gardening, soil, seed, and growing gives you an emotional stability being out there and agreeing with nature. Now, it's time to stand up and do something. Do something better for ourselves and our families, humanity, the animals, plants, and the environment. Self-sufficiency and sustainability are bigger than just you and me.
It's the whole world. If we care and we take steps to become more self-sufficient, then it rubs off on our families and our neighbors, their families and their neighbors, and so on and so on. Don't let anything hold you back. The smallest thing can make a huge impact. For a free copy of the following self-sufficiency checklist, visit us at www.oraclent.ca/PASM. Again, that's www.oraclent.ca/PASM or PASM, and download your free copy today. Now, first, I'll be listing grow a planter garden. Now, whether you're stuck in an apartment or you have someone that doesn't want you to dig up their lawn, you'd be amazed at the number of things that can be grown in planters all around your neighborhood, in your lawn, in your front yard, your backyard, your porches, your decks, anywhere that you want to put a planter. Now, secondly, is start a community garden. Now, community gardens are becoming more and more popular each year. They're popping up more frequently in urban and even suburban areas, and this is great. Even if you don't have room because you live in an apartment or have a small lot and someone doesn't want you to grow a garden on there, you can still join a community garden or start one and have lots of fun and benefit lots of people. Now, an edible lawn is something that I know you don't see regularly, but here is why you should start convincing yourselves and others to start investing in an edible lawn. Now, and the only big factor is we don't need to spend time cutting pretty grass and making it short again while it's going to grow the next week. Seriously, tear out the decorative shrubs, the grass, and put some blueberry bushes in their place. Grow a few fruit trees, make a raised garden bed. Edible lawns can be even pretty. It amazes me how many herbs and edibles you can really put in an edible lawn. And this can be done in your front and back lawn. So you can not only have a raised planter garden in your backyard, you can also have an edible lawn in your front yard and put grapevines and all those things in your own yard. So the majority, if not all your fruits and vegetables can come from your own yard. And with a greenhouse attached to your community garden, you can get your fruits and vegetables during the winter season as well, if you don't have space for a greenhouse in your own yard, right? And with this, you'll have to actually start investing in compost, which is the next point. So you can feed the edible lawn now and the garden that you would like to feed with completely organic and natural fertilizer. You create less trash and you're happier and even healthier with the garden. It's a win-win. You can even do this in an apartment if you really wanted to. Even without any room at all, you can have a rich compost for your plants and gardens. It doesn't take much, and you're still creating less trash. Now, an extra one that you'd add on to that is raising bees. Now, if you haven't noticed, we're killing our bee populations because of all the tearing down our nature. Now, in fact, most of the honey in our store shelves isn't even natural honey anymore. Now, you can start your own, and you'll have fresh local honey and beeswax to make candles with. The next one, stop using your clothes dryers. Now, clothes dryers are some of the biggest energy suckers out there. Not only do they waste tons of energy, but they tear up your clothes. Just learn to hang your clothes like before, whether inside or outside, for the best results. Now, another one that's not really known well in our community is learning to knit and crochet. Now, same as sewing, but if you can knit your own gloves or hat, like this one you see here, you'll be able to stay warm all winter. Make a blanket, socks, the sky's the limit. You can even do better and learn how to spin your own wool, right? So next I'll put learn to sew. I don't care if you can sew by hand or with machine or both. Just learn. This is a skill that is incredibly underused and even becoming extinct. Very, very few people know how to sew. It's a helpful skill, and you can mend clothes instead of buying new ones, and even sew your own. If you shop around, it's cheaper, and they'll be better quality if you make your own. Now, this is one I want to point out, another one, which I'll be actually, there's a song to go along with this one, so wait for the end of the video and you'll hear the song that goes along this one. This one is on No More TV. Now, seriously, you don't need all that mindless garbage in your home with advertising and commercials and game shows and reality TV and sitcoms. There's better ways to entertain yourself with less money out of your pocket and more time for the important things in life. Trust me, there's many trails, hiking opportunities, camping opportunities, nature opportunities that you can go out, and community opportunities that you can go out with the community that you can take up your time with other than sitting in front of a screen and watching, Family Guy, right? So we save thousands of dollars subscribing to satellite TV, and who knows what else we do subscribing to other channels. So we can take out the TV and do something like learning how to sew or knit, right? The next one I'll go into is installing solar power. And I'll go with a slash on this one as installing solar power and installing rainwater cisterns. Now, installing solar power and solar panels can help reduce electricity bills and also invites the possibility of having an off-grid homestead. Now, another one is making your own candles, like the one you see I have here. Homemade candles, especially those with beeswax, are much more natural and healthy for your home and the indoor air quality. You can use these instead of lights and cut down on your power bill. The more you learn to do without electricity, even once in a while, the better off you are. Next is installing rain barrels. Now you can use these to water your garden, water your livestock, and even if you purify it with filters, you can use it for personal use or dishes. And with rainwater nowadays, with the purification we have with reverse osmosis and ionizing, with Oracle Enterprises, we have 2 different ionizers that you can purchase from us that will both alkalinize your water and purify it through titanium plates. So with rainwater, you can actually drink your water and turn your rainwater into free alkaline water. Now, the next one I'll go on to is learn to make your own soap. Now, this is pretty easy if you go with a melt and pour type of soap. Now, although making a cold press soap is more time consuming, it doesn't come without reward. It's a lot cheaper and you know what's in it, and it cleans much better. So if you would like to, you can look up the pour and melt type of soap. Now, next is installing a gray water system. Now, many people that have been spoken to haven't heard of the Earthship concept by Michael Reynolds. Now, this is rampant now in New Age sections of society that are growing out and starting their own communities in the wilderness. Now, gray water is getting poured into the drain, and you do your dishes, your water gets wasted. You do your laundry, your water gets wasted. This is especially useful and beneficial if you have your own natural cleaners. A lot of these natural cleaners on the market today are too harsh to use gray water systems. So that gray water from your dishes and your laundry can get recycled through pipes and systems and tubes and go straight directly into into watering your garden and fruit forest in your back and front yards. This can be easily installed by a local company of yours. Gray water systems. Now, when you do your dishes or you do your laundry, that water now goes under your beds and waters your garden and your raised beds and puts water into your rainwater barrel system as well for excess use for watering sides of this. You're not going to drink this water. You're going to water your gardens with this water. So the gray water systems go into watering your gardens, which is a healthier way to water and fertilize your gardens as well, especially if you make your own cleaners, which I'll go into. And it's amazing what a bottle of vinegar and some citrus fruit can do. Most of us have everything we need to clean our own home sitting right in our kitchen. No harsh chemicals and no overpriced cleansers. No overpowering smells, just plain clean. Another one is learn how to make a fire. And seriously consider finding a way to get a fireplace or wood burner in your house. No electricity means no heat for the vast majority of us. Even if we have gas or propane furnaces, you have to have electricity to kick them on. Plus, knowing how to build a fire outside is a good idea too, and there are many off-grid fire starting kits that you can purchase on Amazon. Learn the medicinal uses of herbs. Now, in a blooming essential oil world, I encourage you to learn more about herbs. These herbs you can grow right in your kitchen or on your back deck. You don't need to depend on a company to make them for you. They can even be found in the wild, and a lot of them have tons of medicinal purposes. You can also make your own remedies from these herbs and put them to use. Now, there used to be a time where natural medicine was the normal. We've definitely swayed away from that. While sometimes you still can beat a good doctor, many times home remedies will do the trick, and you can find your own natural remedy in your own backyard. Another thing you can do is learn to tap trees. Tapping maple trees and other varieties in your yard can give you an amazing experience for syrup and natural sugar. It may also produce a lot, but it's a skill you will have. So, tapping trees and growing those type of trees in your yards will be a good investment, especially if you're looking to own your property and pass it down generationally. Now, building a root cellar is also something that can be elaborate and simple with just an old freezer buried in the ground. Don't overthink this project. All right? Learn to source and barter food. Now, the truth is, no matter what we do, we will probably still need a helping hand once in a while. Maybe the house down the road raises chickens and you have a dairy cow. Maybe they grow wheat and you don't have enough room for it. Lots of different scenarios you can use to live without these things. But you can source healthy foods and sometimes even barter for yourself if you have an apartment. And this is something very important. Making your own food is one thing that you can also do, which is very important. Learning from scratch and also transitioning to an all fruit and vegetable raw vegan diet will be a benefit to you, especially if you're growing your own vegetables and fruits. Always ask questions and read books and learn to can your food. Now, even if your food is picked up at the grocery store, it can be canned. If you have a great deal on some organic products or produce, pick up some extra and learn how to preserve it. Learn to live with less and exercise. And lastly, but not least, start a kitchen herb garden. Now, you can grow herbs right in your own kitchen with the right amount of light. Not even outside, right there in your kitchen. Just stick them by a window for a while and use artificial light if you have to. Herbs can incredibly are easy to grow and require very little maintenance and very little water. Now, that completes our self-sufficiency checklist, which can be downloaded for free at our website. Go to www.oracleent.ca/PASM. Again, that's www.oracleent.ca/PASM to download your copy of our self-sufficiency checklist as well as our community garden overview. Now, thank you for your interest in the Pan-African Sustainability Movement, powered by the UNIA, or the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Now, stay tuned as we seek to partner with Dr. Umar Johnson and the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey International Leadership Academy for Pan-African Excellence. Now, thank you and shalom. I'll leave you out with this last track here, which is titled Television is the Worst by one of our artists here from Gen X by the name of Chronix. Now I'll go to this one real quick for you guys. And then we'll be out. But right now, it is 2023. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to the new world order. Welcome to the new age, post-pandemic. Still kind of in the Russian-Ukraine war, but it's almost post-Russian-Ukraine war as well. But it's not post-economic recession. This pre-economic recession, which is why this self-sufficiency checklist could not be more important, as well as the integration of a community garden system between you and your community. Build a community with community projects that you have with nonprofit efforts if you can. Build a community of tight-knit people, friends and family that you can count on, and introduce the idea of a community garden to those people. It takes nothing to survey some land, purchase half an acre, if you even need that for that many people. Less than half an acre can do just fine. You can purchase land for a couple $100,000 and grow a self-sufficient community garden on that land, which will be able to grow you fruits and vegetables all year round, especially if you implement a climate-controlled greenhouse on that property for winter seasons, if you're in a winter season state or country or province. But if you don't have to worry about winter, then go outside if you choose to. But just as a backup, because we don't know how the climate's going to be affected by this global warming, it's always a great idea to add in a climate-controlled greenhouse to your community garden plot, allowing you to be able to grow self-sufficient fruits and vegetables all year round with sufficient water to water them as well. Now, thank you for tuning in to our self-sufficiency checklist guideline video powered by the Pan-African Sustainability Movement. Again, this is 2023, January 1st. Welcome to the new age. Thank you for joining us here at Oracle Enterprises. And this is our outro here with Chronics.
Now incoming from Spanish Town, Jamaica. Dread and Turbo DJ. Yeah, them think I joke with it. I make when we tell them so we are cope with it. Put it up on top, them cannot reach them. I tell you when we touch it, street burn up. Pressure the one of them to flat up. East none up, ready my cooking at the kitchen. Eat turn up, have a rifle pretty like a this and fear the fool I feel so them can creep come up. Believe me no, man, yellow listen last year the first. Sit the seven seal at that burst, Babylon and book. Try and sell them chipping our nerves. And I try to give it less than we deserve. Remember the one of them wishes I reveal upon myself. Mystical revealers in the church. The wonder who I rule the universe. Like I've been using television is a verse. Ace, turn on your reason, look into these things. Do you believe them? Teach all the doctrines that preach in the minute to receive it. Then you join them legions, armies and legions, Babylon religion, nuclear and big guns, Babylon religion. One box with them, can't box with them, can't lock with them. Come up with them, can't track with them, can't block with them, can't stop with them. We plan wherever them can't cops to come start chop. But the sergeant and the corporal was the jail. Think they could have stopped it with the love for pray. Still I show love to the haters for free. Now stop meditate, cause me need it. Now take for the medication, them greedy. Listen the acid in my veins with some greens. I rugged, I got up in my plate with some seaweed. Then I put a play with like CD. Brainwash with cable and TV. See and then if you move the BBC. Nothing go well if you me that. Yeah, I listen, I see at the first. See the seven seal with that burst. Babylon, I come try and sell them chipping up in there. And I try to give it less than we deserve. Yeah, missions are revealing by myself. Surfboard, mystical revealers in the church. Wonder who I rule the universe. What go do in the research? Yo, Jaja youth and the time for your proof. Nothing sharp, me your tools to the hills we are move. One day a duty and plant up your fruits. Got time, I go show with the wise from the fool. How to make it in the giddy and the teaching school. And let the youth then not tell us how to keep it cool. And fire where we send it to your speakers youth. Right throughout the season, stage your watch streaming. We burn out the beast and turn on your reason. Look into these things, do you believe that? All the doctrines I preach in the minute you receive it, and you join them legions, armies and legions, Babylon religion, nuclear and big guns, yeah. them and they like listen, I see the first. See the seven seal at the burst, Babylon. Try and silent chipping up with nerves. Try to give it less than we deserve. Remember the one on them. Missions I reveal about myself, but mystical revealers in the church. Them I wonder who I rule the universe. Because you'd go and go do no research.
If you haven't already, check out our website, the Pan-African Sustainability Movement website, and the Universal Negro Improvement Association website for more information on the movement. And also do me a quick favor and go to Dr. Umar Johnson's website at his.com. Check out what he's doing with this academy and moving forward with the opening of their academy. Now, again, it's always a good idea to check in with your economy because you are affected by it whether you like it or not. And whether you've gone to school for business or economy or infrastructure or anything like that, it's still good to know why things are the way they are around you and how they can be affected by the world powers moving certain places and doing certain things. You'd be surprised that the United States' number one spending is on military weapons, followed by crude oil. So if you now look at the spending habits of their military trades and their crude oil in the news, you can now track your own and have your own inflation tracker from your own house based on what the type of gas prices are going to be when you go fill up the next week, doing your research on that so you can plan out when and how much you're going to put in your tank, if you're going to fill it up to the top, and when you're going to do it, if you're going to do it halfway, when it gets to halfway, or you're going to let it go down to empty and then fill it up, what gas stations you're going to fill from, if you're going to transition into a gas or a hybrid vehicle. These things will be able to tell you what you need to do, when you need to do it in terms of the economy. And things like looking out for trades between Asia right now and the Europeans with nuclear weapons. How can that affect the price of food? How can that affect the price of gas, the price of water, the price of electricity, the price of housing, the mortgage crisis, and everything? And now that I don't know if anyone's done the research, but there's now pipelines running from Africa to Europe, giving Europe oil because Europe has no other place to go for oil right now because the reserves are running that low in the Middle East, which is why prices are so heavy over here. Because whether you knew it or not, the majority of oil that is harvested, crude oil harvested in America, gets sent overseas to be processed and then sold back to America at a higher price. Same thing with Canada. That's what we do here because we don't have our own refineries. Right, we're not close to that part of the world, so we don't have our own refineries, and we're not going to invest in them because we're too cheap and we're too much in debt to do it anyways. So we have to ship what we harvest overseas to process, and then we buy it back from them at higher prices. So with that being said, as a starting point of where we get our oil from, that should be able to tell you and give you a tracker on how much you're going to be paying in the next few weeks or months for crude oil based on the price of the barrel. Because if you're checking in with currency exchange, then you can track the currencies of the countries that we're shipping our oil to be processed to and who we're buying it from as well. Because the prices of the currencies in those countries will definitely affect the price of trade in our country. Because if we've received not only oil, but we also receive fruits and vegetables and other goods and services from these other countries, and if their dollars are fluctuating because of their own civil unrest, then it can boost and spike our inflation on our end without us even realizing it if we're not paying attention to it. So these trackers can be pinpointed directly based on your research for you to know when and where something like a recession is going to happen, if it's going to happen, and how deep it's going to be affecting your spending habits, whether it's oil, gas, food, water, electricity, and mortgage. Those will spike and those will lower based on the trade going on between crude oil and other essential goods and resources throughout the other countries in the East and North America. And once you are able to track those things on your own, then you can plan sufficiently and make a budget for yourself to get self-sufficient in the next 2 to 5 years. completely out of debt and staying out of debt within the next 2 to 5 years, which is the goal for the Pan-African Sustainability Movement. It's a 2 to 5 year plan for everyone to get fully out of debt, stay out of debt, and make themselves self-sufficient from the government, lowering their costs on purchasing items for food, water, and resources, being able to build and make their things for themselves and be self-sufficient from the government, living on a plot of land, whether or not it's in the city or in the country, that's able to grow your own food and harvest your own rainwater, and becoming more self-sufficient on greens and fruits and vegetables. That's the goal of the Pan-African Sustainability Movement. And it seems like it's also the goal of Dr. Umar Johnson on a global scale, on a Pan-African scale, especially if we can now work towards making the continent of Africa a united, self-sufficient continent, and putting tariffs on all countries that want to do trade with Africa. So Africa now benefits mostly and majority from all of its resources instead of being used and strung dry by the other countries taking advantage of Africa. The same thing they're doing to Africa is what they're doing to the Negroes in North America. It's the same thing. It's the same process. It's the same script. It's the same organizations running the same things over there, over here. They're trying to get rid of our nation because they know the potential we have as a group if we unify ourselves. Only if we unify ourselves. We're nothing separate. There's about 50 million North Americans, Negroes in North America. There's about 50 million Negroes in North America. Maybe including the Negroes in the North America and the Caribbean, there's about 55 million of us. So they know that specific group of North American and Caribbean Negroes that they brought over here, if those Negroes unify themselves, they can not only take over America and Canada financially, but they can also unify and take over Africa, which means that group of Negroes that they want to call us the chosen people are the true heirs and the true key holders to the New World Order. And they know that if that powerful unit comes together and unifies, it will mean the demise of the current day system and the current day government. That's what they're scared of. That's why they're trading all these weapons around and trading all this crude oil. Because if you do your research, Negroes in North America are the top spenders in the economy. We spend the most money as any race in all of North America combined. Despite not having the most money or keeping the most money, we spend the most money at retail stores and infrastructure stores. So we're giving the most money back to Uncle Sam out of any race in the country, in the whole continent, right? And they know these things. And these things are on the government websites for you to go research yourselves. They're not hiding these things. They're not keeping them in the Freemasons anymore. They've let these things out in the government, right? These are things you can research. Right? So they know, but the things they are hiding with the Freemasons are what the possibility of a united Negro race would do to the economy as a whole if we redirect our spending away from them. If we take the trillions of dollars we spend per year away from them and put it back into us, then we'll instantly collapse their whole system and it will turn into anarchy and martial law at an instance. They know these things, which is what they predicted these things in movies, but they didn't want to tell you who was going to be the key to do it. Now they know that we are the key to doing it, and we're waking up and learning it. So that's why they're coming down on us saying we're anti-Semitic. That's their target out, is calling us anti-Semitic when we rise up against them, because we no longer want to include them in what we're doing. So they're calling us, and they're using their rhetoric to downplay our self-sufficiency and our independence, because they're dependent on us to make them wealthy. Do you see what I'm saying here? And since they're depending on us to make them wealthy, as soon as we take our wealth away from them, they start losing at the game that they created for themselves. Which means that they've already mentally lost in their game, which is why they have to downplay and degrade us down to numbers in the slums and keep us at the minimum wages as long as we can possibly be there. That's why they're doing this. It's called the Matrix. They created a matrix for us to be locked in mentally. And they're going to keep us there as long as they can, because they know that if we escape from that mental matrix, then we can now not only collapse their whole system in front of the world's eyes, we can also rebuild the African system simultaneously to this and rebuild a new world order based around the unified African continent, leading the world through its balanced array of resources and its tariffs on all countries, and its regulated sustainable resource trade program and system that we're going to be partnering with the African Union and Ethiopia shortly after we partner with Dr. Umar Johnson. Now, stay tuned for these things coming in the next few weeks and months with Oracle Enterprises and the United Negro Improvement Association, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. It was started by Marcus Garvey in 1914. Once we as a nation realize that we have the spending power to create a new world order, we must now unify, and the most important thing we focus on should be community gardens. We need to start building and buying acres because, as you know, it was in the Constitution for us to get 40 acres and a mule. Now, since that's not going to be happening from the government anytime soon, we have to now do it for ourselves, which is what the Pan-African Sustainability Movement is pushing us to do. We have to now buy our own acres and buy our own John Deeres and put them on those acres and farm those acres into a self-sufficient nation. Oasis gardening is what the topic of the Pan-African Sustainability Movement is built around. Now, the country with the most sustainable oasis garden is Oman, bordering that of India, if you do your research on Oman, O-M-A-N. Now, Oman has one of the most self-sufficient economies in the world, on top of the leaderboard in progression in the past 10 years. And they have the most self-sufficient oasis garden system on the planet as we speak. Now, the Pan-African Sustainability Movement is going to be modeling their process for oasis gardening as we go throughout state by state, partnering with the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy, building through the Team Pan-African a worldwide group of community gardens, allowing the Pan-Africans worldwide to be self-sufficient from the government, creating a more sufficient team and unified community-based system for agriculture and economics of infrastructure for our nation. This is going to circulate our goods and resources throughout our nation. Being able to transfer this from America over to Africa will be a simultaneous transition, especially with the blueprints already printed out for us in the self-sufficient guides that we have with Oracle. Now, if we can get these in front of the African Union once they've been proven effective, then we'll be able to start unifying the African continent once we get all the presidents and leaders on board with this agenda. And the leak that we're going to be leaking tonight is the first project we'll be moving forward with the African Union is going to be titled the African Highway Project. Now, as we now know in Africa that many of their states and countries have first world cities. The outskirts of their cities are considered third world and below because of their poor road network. It is hard to get resources to the people living in those tribes still because there is no built road network, and the countries will refuse to put work into the road networks because they say it's not worth it. They're miseducated on their own people's fault, on their own people's lackings, and since they're miseducated, they're not going to do anything unless we now educate them on the benefits of what that will do for a nation. They're too busy focused on trying to defend themselves from being hijacked all over by all the other countries trying to take all their resources. So they have a lot on their plate, right? But once we teach these principles and share them with them, we'll be able to start that African Highway Project, uniting a fluent African united highway system going throughout the whole continent of Africa, reaching all the secluded nations and tribes in the continent and connecting all resources through one fluent highway system. Now, we've tracked that this is not going to be completed until at least 2045, but it will be a 10 to 15 year project once started, and we'll be partnering with countries that do not have any active nuclear weapons trades deals going forth as of the emancipation of the plan. So, in other words, if a country does not have any active nuclear weapons being traded, they are now open to joining us in our resource trading program that will be opening for the African Highway Project. So for one, Canada would be on the list of there. And depending on what Japan chooses to do with theirs, Japan would also be on the list of that. Right? And there's some European countries that would also be on the list, except for Russia, and for obvious reasons. But with that being said, once the African Highway Project starts with the right resources, we will be building an African highway system uniting all African continents and countries through one main system loop that's connected to be able to connect all the resources and all the distant tribes to be able to receive resources from HUDs and huts located around the area. Similar to the Amazon routing, how Amazon built their warehouses and their distribution centers strategically throughout the states, is how we're going to be building our self-sufficient huts with self-sufficient resources and goods and services that we're going to be shipping throughout the country and the continent through this soon-to-be highway project system. So the Universal Negro Improvement Association, powered by the Pan-African Sustainability Movement Union, is going to be erecting the African Highway Project to the African Union in Ethiopia. And that is our goal. Once we are able to share this knowledge with Dr. Umar Johnson, we're hoping to bring Team Pan-African on board with that project to get Team Pan-African and us in front of the the African Union in Ethiopia at their headquarters in the main city of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Like, we're going to get us, Dr. Umar and us, in front of them on a stage once we have sufficiently created enough schools and community gardens in North America for our nations and built up a self-sufficient nation of Pan-Africans on the West. We will then bring it to the East and do the same thing on the East, because like Dr. Umar Johnson said, Africa is for Africans, all diaspora. So we have to take what we learn and what we practice here on a small level and bring it and blow it up and maximize it on a large level in Africa with the Pan-African Sustainability Movement and the African Union. And the first project will be the African Highway Project. Now, with that, I'll leave you with another episode here of a vlog here by the Pan-African Sustainability Movement. Again, this is Christophe St. John coming live back from Jamaica here in Canada. And we will be looking to get on board with Team Pan-African with Dr. Umar Johnson as soon as possible, so we can get forward in our projects, because there's a lot of work to do. This is not going to be a fly-by-night project. It's not going to happen in the next year or 5 years. This is a 10 to 15-year project, minimum 10 to 15-year project, right? So with this minimum 10 to 15-year project, we're going to have to get on board, get all the volunteers possible. But the first thing you can do, if you're watching this from home or if you're able to get this information, is download the self-sufficient checklist, the self-sufficiency checklist. Start knocking off all the things you can from where you are now. Start knocking off your personal debts from where you are now, and move forward in getting yourself as self-sufficient as possible by 2030, because they're obviously planning for some big economical shifts before 2030, which is why they came up with the agenda for 2030. So if you can make yourself as self-sufficient as possible before 2030, then you'll be on the way to being able to partner with us once we bring it over to Africa after 2030. Now, I'll be leaving you out with this one here by Ross I. And then we'll close out this session real quick. Thank you for tuning in. Again, this is Christophe St. John. And have a blessed new year and stay positive through 2023. All right. Let's see if I can find this one here. One love, one love, one love. Irie Tings here, over here in Canada, yo. One love coming from Canada, yo. Irie Tings.
Take me somewhere wonderful. So tired of being misunderstood. I keep on doing all the good, 'cause life always works out as it should. Yeah. And for so long, we are hold on. I look at things that we so strong. She said them so gone on the program. We have a different slogan. And so we try to on the right road. Surround myself with the right folks. The ones who always keep it eye close. The kind of love you can't fight to. Jah give by the clarity. We only want what is best for humanity. I don't need them charity right now. We only want the opportunity. That's all it is, truthfully. Just give me what due to me. So when the music hits the right place and I'm in the right space, take me somewhere wonderful. So tired of being misunderstood. I keep on doing all the good, 'cause life always works out as it should. Yeah. Let me use the Yamazita on the road. Find an impress and get later. In a house, I'm bad with the soul start. Let the go. I'm bad with the soul start. Let the go. Let me use the Yamazita on the road. Find an impress and get later. In a house, bad with the soul start. Let the go. Bad with the soul start. So, spend no time chasing anything when I could be life changing. 'Cause moments wasted can't be returned, you can rewrite the pages. Please, Jah, give us the clarity. We only want what is best for humanity. I don't need them charity right now, me only want the opportunity. That's all it is, truthfully. Just give me what due to me. So when the music is the right place and I'm in the right space, it takes me somewhere wonderful. So tired of being misunderstood. I keep on doing all the good, 'cause life always works out as it should. As it should, as it should. Take me somewhere.
Shalom.